For years, Buckingham Palace didn't just stay silent, it weaponized silence. Not a denial, not an explanation, nothing. And in that silence, the questions grew louder, sharper, impossible to ignore. Why were Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet, never treated like royal heirs? Why were they missing from palace balconies, from official portraits, from the sacred rituals that welcomed every royal child into history? Why did the palace smile for everyone else but freeze when their names were spoken? No answers came, only that cold, polished stillness, the kind that tells you something is wrong long before anyone admits it. And then it happened. Behind those towering iron gates, behind stone walls soaked in centuries of secrets, something began to move. Not gossip, not rumor, official movement. Sources deep inside the palace confirmed it. Papers had already been prepared, signed, and sealed. These weren't reminders, they weren't warnings, they were final. Documents powerful enough to permanently redefine who Archie and Lilibet were. Not as children, not as people, but as identities in royal history. And the moment those papers were set into motion, a storm erupted. The message was brutal in its simplicity. Archie and Lilibet's claim to royal identity would no longer stand. This wasn't emotion. This wasn't revenge. This was law. Law written in ink older than most nations. Law pulled from a rulebook created when kings ruled by divine right and royal bloodlines were guarded like holy relics. The year was 1917. Britain was at war. Inside the palace, King George V faced a terrifying reality. Foreign royal ties were becoming a political threat. So he did what monarchs do best. He tightened control. He issued the letters patent of 1917. On paper, the language looked harmless, almost boring, but hidden inside those stiff formal lines was a weapon that would shape the monarchy for more than a century. It clearly defined who could and who could never call themselves prince or princess. The rules were absolute. 1. The child must be of legitimate royal bloodline. 2. The birth must be officially recorded and recognized by the crown. 3. The child must be formally connected to the Church of England through baptism. No shortcuts, no loopholes, no emotional exceptions. Titles weren't accessories. They were legal identities, sacred, protected. For generations, every royal birth followed this formula with military precision. Announcements, doctors, records, ceremonies, until one royal baby didn't. When Archie Harrison was born in 2019, the world was told everything was perfect. Smiles, photos, celebration. But beneath the surface, something wasn't right. Something was wrong, and it lived in the paperwork. On Archie's original birth certificate, Meghan was listed under her legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Normal, proper, documented. But then, quietly, that record changed. Her name disappeared. In its place appeared a title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. No announcement, no explanation, just a silent edit in one of the most sacred documents in royal history. When reporters noticed, chaos followed. Meghan claimed palace officials forced the change. Palace aides denied it. Both sides accused. Neither side proved anything. But the real issue wasn't the name, it was why. Because altering a royal birth certificate isn't cosmetic, it's historical surgery. Once that document is changed, the record isn't just corrected, it's rewritten. And with that rewrite, doubt was born. For centuries, royal records were untouchable. But now cracks appeared. Hairline fractures at first, tiny, easy to dismiss. But cracks grow. And by the time Meghan gave birth again, the structure was already shaking. In June 2021, far from Buckingham Palace, far from Westminster bells, a baby girl was born. Lilibet Diana, a name heavy with meaning. The Queen's childhood nickname. Princess Diana's legacy. It should have been historic, but it wasn't. No palace announcement, no royal doctors, no easel outside Buckingham Palace. Instead, the news came from California, wrapped in a glossy press release written by Meghan and Harry's own team. To the public, it looked joyful. To royal watchers, it sounded like thunder. For hundreds of years, royal births followed one script: proof over performance. Doctors confirmed, the palace verified, archives recorded. This system wasn't about vanity, it was about legitimacy. And with Lilibet, the system vanished. No royal witness, no royal seal, no entry into the royal archive. Inside the monarchy, silence only means one thing: this birth was not theirs to claim. Months later, Meghan proudly spoke about Lilibet's baptism in California. She called it sacred, beautiful, joyful. Photos were released, statements made. But inside Buckingham Palace, something far darker unfolded. A baptism isn't just symbolic. It binds a royal child to the Church of England, the very church the monarch governs. Without that official recognition, the child doesn't exist in royal law. Palace sources whispered what no one said publicly: the California baptism was never formally registered with the Church of England, which meant it didn't count. And in royal terms, an unrecognized baptism is the same as no baptism at all. To the outside world, that sounds small. Inside the monarchy, it was seismic, because without it, Lilibet wasn't just outside the church. She was outside the chain that leads to the throne. Two worlds had split: California sunshine on one side, royal frost on the other. And for Meghan, this wasn't just protocol, it was identity. From the moment she married Harry, royalty became her brand. Duchess, mother of royal heirs, touched by the crown. Everything she built, interviews, documentaries, memoirs, lifestyle ambitions, leaned on one message: royal legitimacy. But that legitimacy was slipping. And for Harry, the realization cut deeper than any title ever could. Because if the palace refused to recognize his children, what did that make him? By now, the silence from Buckingham Palace wasn't just loud, it was suffocating. The kind of silence that doesn't mean hesitation, it means preparation. The royal machine, slow but unstoppable, was moving forward without mercy. Harry felt it before anyone told him. Late nights, missed calls, conversations that suddenly ended too fast. He wasn't calling as a prince anymore, he was calling as a father. From thousands of miles away, under California skies that once symbolized freedom, Harry picked up the phone again and again. He pleaded, not for himself, for his children. He begged the very family he had walked away from to reconsider, to let Archie and Lilibet remain part of royal history, to allow their names to exist where generations before them had stood. To Harry, stepping back from royal duties had never meant cutting his bloodline loose. He believed lineage was permanent, that no ocean could erase it. But the response that came back from the palace was colder than anything he had faced before. This is not about emotion. Those words landed like a blade. This is about order. This is about lineage. This is about the future of the crown. In that moment, Harry heard every king who had ever ruled speaking through that sentence. The crown was not a family. It was an institution. And institutions do not bend for feelings. For Harry, it must have felt like watching his family tree being pruned while he stood powerless. Branches carrying his children's names being cut away one by one, quietly, efficiently, without apology. Then came the point of no return. No announcement, no cameras, no dramatic confrontation. Just paper. Papers filed, stamped, sealed. Ink meeting parchment inside rooms the public will never see, by hands that never shake. And with that simple act, everything changed. The orders were precise. 1. No princely or princess titles. 2. No ceremonial roles. 3. No place in the official line of succession. 4. No crown-funded protection. 5. No acknowledgement in official royal records. On paper, it looked administrative. Inside the monarchy, it was annihilation. Titles aren't decoration. They are identity. They decide who belongs to history and who is erased from it. And so, line by line, the transformation happened. Prince Archie became simply Archie. Princess Lilibet became just Lilibet. No fanfare, no scandal, no warning. This wasn't a suspension. This wasn't temporary. The palace didn't press pause, it pressed delete. Royal archivists began their work. Databases were updated, records adjusted, and where titles once lived, there was nothing. Silence. The cleanest way to erase someone from royal history is not to attack them, but to remove them. No outrage, no headlines, just absence. And absence speaks louder than any statement ever could. For years, Meghan and Harry had positioned themselves as royal rebels, the outsiders, the truth tellers. They told their story, signed contracts, released documentaries, stood in front of cameras and spoke of pain, betrayal, and freedom. But the truth the palace always understood was far colder. You can only be a rebel if the crown still claims you, and the crown no longer did. The monarchy never fought back publicly, never traded insults, never explained itself. It waited. And when the time came, it acted, not with anger, but with precision. Names removed, titles stripped, legitimacy withdrawn. The message was unmistakable. The crown survives not by emotion, but by obedience to its own rules. For Meghan, this was the collapse of the image she had fought to preserve. Mother of royal heirs, duchess tied to history, woman connected to the throne. Without institutional recognition, that identity fractured. Without palace acknowledgement, the royal aura faded. And in the eyes of the monarchy, what remained was not royalty, but celebrity. For Harry, the loss cut even deeper, because he hadn't just lost titles. He had lost the guarantee that his children would ever belong to the world he was born into. The institution he tried to escape had reached across the ocean and rewritten his legacy without him. Today, Archie and Lilibet will grow up beneath California sunshine. They will know warmth, laughter, freedom. They will know their parents' love, not palace protocol. But when history books are written, when future generations trace the royal bloodline, their names will not appear beside the crown. And that empty space, that silence where a name should be, will speak louder than any scandal ever could. It will say the crown values order over emotion, lineage over love, history over individuals. For the monarchy, the record is now clean. For Harry and Meghan, it is the end of their royal story. Because once the crown erases you, you are not a rebel. You are not an exile. You are simply gone. You are simply gone. You are simply gone.